Hello and welcome to Small Scale Chatter. Hi everyone. Welcome to the video cast. As you all know, I'm Angeli, and I'm here today interviewing Mattias. Is it Lilja? How do you say your last name? I should have asked this before we went live, shouldn't I?
Lilja.
Lilja. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, well, hello. Hi.
Hi there.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
As people are coming in, I'll just tell you a little bit about how you can help out the show. Those of you listening and at home, you can help out the show by joining our Patreon. Our Patreon is from just £2 a month. You can help to work towards our first goal, which is to pay for a monthly subscription to our Podbean, which is our podcast subscription service, which will open up a whole load of new things that I can do with it, as well as allowing me to have more hours to upload a month, which should be a bonus. So yeah, it's £12 a month. I'm going to put the link in the chat there. The link is also underneath the show. So if you do want to help out, that's where you go to find us. Thank you. Well, Mattias, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why are you here? Who are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm a partner at Free League Publishing. I'm a co-creator, writer, designer of Symbaroum and the Symbaroum, the 5e adaptation called Ruins of Symbaroum. So I think that's why I'm here.
Oh, I hope so as well, because I've sorted out questions for that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Wonderful. Right, I'm going to put a link to the Kickstarter that we'll be talking about today in the chat. I'll pop it up here as well. Yes, so let's jump right in, shall we? So tell us a little bit about Symbaroum as a setting. What can people expect from picking up those books?
Well, regardless of system, you would get a world. It's a darker tone, or at least in a darker aesthetic. It's the premise of the world is that nature is the creative force and humanity is the sort of, we call it a disciplinary force, maybe, that when it goes into excess and exploits the world, nature hits back in the form of corruption. And then, of course, there's a ton of layers to that, but there are different factions and groups that choose different sides of this battle or sees it differently. So a very classic one when people have played Symbaroum is that they come back and say, I never knew elves were that bad, because they do not like humans, because humans are, in the eyes of the elves at least, exploitative and better kept at a long distance, at a bow shot distance at best. Right? So that's some basics to the setting.
Yeah, I was first drawn to it because of the artwork. So I didn't know anything about it, but when I first saw the books, it was like the covers and the art in there, like, just spoke to me of like what you could expect from this. It's all a bit dark and a bit haunted woods, but like not in a fun Hansel and Gretel, like it's not in a fairy tale way, and a lot darker than a fairy tale.
It's a darker streak to it. It's not all dark, but it has that mysterious and dark. That'd be the one. That'd be the Forest of Davokar, which is sort of the main place where the game plays out. It's actually a city a forest that is planted by elves over the ruins of Symbaroum, which is an old evil empire. And the elves planted the woods over it to keep the evil down with the roots. And now humans have found it again and ventured into the forest. Some of them play nice, and some of them just want to get the stuff and risk awakening whenever.
I really enjoy like this look of these, like some of them are monsters, but they have a very like folklore-y sort of look to them, and I really, really like that. Even just from like playing The Witcher and getting to like beat up some of those like baddies from folklore, like that's the first thing when I saw this. I was like, oh, I want to run a campaign in this. I want there to be these monsters and these regular people running around trying to like not get killed by them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where the adaptation to 5e actually started. Was most people that saw the art and understood something about the setting, but they weren't exactly excited about learning another system.
Yeah.
So they asked, will it come to 5e? And we're like, no, but maybe, yes, maybe. Let's think about that. So that was one of the forces that started us and see if we couldn't run 2 parallel systems in the same setting.
Yeah. I think it's like a really great idea, because obviously like D&D is this like, you know, the huge behemoth of the RPG world. To be able to pull some of those players who are used to the Sword Coast into this darker woods, I think it's like the perfect setting for so many campaigns that need something a little bit more, a little bit scarier, but a little bit more dangerous. That's probably the better word than D&D.
It's less. The morals are less clear cut, I think. For Symbaroum, we've tried to make it feel, even though there's sort of a mythological or metaphysical idea to why the world is like it is, most groups in the world are way more complex, and they have splinter groups and all that. And I think people enjoy that, especially after being exposed to Game of Thrones or many others. Like there can be facets to human action or good, rather than just good and evil. So I think that is also one of the things that people pick up on in the world. That's it's layered and it's not simple. And your character, your PC is not simple either. It's full of faults in many ways, and that makes them interesting to a lot of people to explore.
I definitely prefer a game where everyone's got some flaws, and like it's not just, hey, we're superheroes running around. It's people who aren't always good and good at the things that they're trying to do as well.
Exactly. I think there's something about the old idea that the flaws is what makes beauty perfect. I think there's something on that, where if it's too polished, it doesn't do much. If it needs a few cracks, or
definitely,
an item that's been used usually looks better than one who hasn't, at least in my estimate, right? There's some history to it, or whatever you want to call that.
I'm really excited to like play it in 5e. I've got all of the books in the original mechanics, and I got the new starter set because I just really love the setting so much. But I have also got in for the Kickstarter for 5e because I know that there is. I know that there'll be people that want to play this that I know who won't want to learn the new mechanics. Because I'm always the games master, so I need all of the books. That's my excuse. I need all of the books because I'm always the games master. Now, I'm really excited to see this adaptation and be able to convince some of people who are a bit reluctant to move away from D&D to come and see this new world. And maybe if I can coax them in with some 5e, I can then say, oh, well, if you want to continue this story, you're going to have to learn some new mechanics and get them out of their little comfort zone.
Yeah, and I understand that being the big behemoth, as you called it, right? There's a lot of stuff. I'm one of those people who actually, when people say that you can't do everything in 5e, I'm like, you almost can by this point. It's a very dynamic system. There's a lot of official content if you start going to homebrew, and there's sort of never ends, of like a never-ending buffet, right? So a lot of people are hesitant to leave. And it makes total sense to me. So for us, it was more the challenge of actually adapting it. Like, can we do it justice? We don't want to slap the Symbaroum aesthetics on a classic 5e game. That makes no sense. That would make the setting justice. So we started we actually did what you call it. I'd call it sort of a trial balloon. We released a free adventure with a couple of characters and basic level up for them to see.
That was one of the other Kickstarters, wasn't it? I remember it being a little add-on for
it was one of the Yeah, I was in the Symbaroum Kickstarter actually as a.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a stretch goal or it's just a bonus, but we did that anyway, and we sent it out. And I think it was downloaded about some 6,000 times, if I'm correct, by now, and we've gotten a lot of feedback on it, and constructive criticism, some things we learn from, but also the general feeling that we cracked the basic problems that we saw in turning this into so that's why we continued on the path. We wanted to do an experiment basically first to see that we weren't totally off. And by our estimate, we weren't. So now we're running the Kickstarter.
So we have David. Hello, David. Hi. My wife doesn't believe that as a reason for me for buying new books. I need them all because I run the games. I'm in the same boat, though I own them all. And I have backed the 5e one. So yay, we have a backer.
Well, thank you. Thank you, David. It's awesome. Nice
Thank
of you.
Yes. So talking of the Kickstarter and backing it, absolutely smashing through those stretch goals at the moment. We've unlocked 24. I feel like every time I open my phone to check my emails, there's another update saying, yay, we did it.
And it's pretty amazing. We're absolutely thrilled to get that response. I mean, we knew we had fans who in the 5e community that wanted to see it done, but you're never really sure. That's why I love Kickstarter. You can do weird things, and then you get very concrete feedback. I mean, people literally vote on your idea if it's cool or not. And they vote basically with their wallet. So, and I really love that. So we especially when it turns out like this. But super nice for a small team like us to be able to get a clear idea of how many people out there want our thing. That's
Why do you think it is that people are drawn to this sort of the Symbaroum as a 5e setting? Why do you think?
Well, I'm guessing there are sort of two groups, mostly those who were well aware of this. Maybe if you had some or maybe all of the books for the original game, but they weren't able to get the group to move over to a new system, but they knew enough people who would go for a 5e game set in that setting. I think that's clearly one of the groups. And then there are people who obviously haven't seen Symbaroum much, but they see Kickstarter and they hear about it somewhere, and they come in and they're 5e players, and they're like, I can just add this. Maybe just steal elements from it. It's pretty modular, or shift over and run a campaign in this instead of what you mentioned, Sword Coast or whatever you have your setting. So I think those two groups come together in the Kickstarter pretty well.
So Jennifer, who is also a backer, has said, how difficult has it been to adapt the original mechanics?
Depends what part you look at. It's been easy in some and harder in others. The easiest one was the one that I was initially concerned about, but it turned out to be pretty straightforward. This is the key mechanic in Symbaroum is the corruption mechanic, whereby if you manipulate the world and force it to do your bidding, you force yourself on the world in a sense. Nature doesn't like it and sends corruption back at you. The most clear example would be magic. But there are other ways to do it as well. But generally, it's involving magic in some kind. So it's a huge challenge if you're playing what we will call a mystic, which would be some form of priest or witch or wizard, mainly. But we realized that we could basically, by just dropping spell slots, as in you don't memorize spells and lose them. You just can cast any spell you want that you know as many times as you want, if you can stand the corruption you get. So it becomes sort of a pushing mechanic. You can you can get a few spells off, especially lower level. And then you start to come to a threshold in your corruption, and then it's like, do I need to cast one more spell? We're not doing well in this fight, or to solve this problem, this would be great, but I'm not sure, because as you get over that threshold, you start to get physical or mental changes, and you can even lose a character to corruption and become thoroughly corrupt, and then basically join the howling mad part of the world that just wants to destroy stuff. So that's one way to go in Symbaroum, actually. But that mechanic actually played out well, especially with the spell levels and progression. So it actually went way smoother than we thought. And it plays well. Some other parts were harder. Original Symbaroum doesn't have level. Characters don't level as such. They're you can go in other directions with as you improve your character, and they're not as tracked.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, both good and bad. I'm an old time. I started playing RPGs early 80s, and I remember the Menzner Red Box set in 1983. So, and I've played D&D forever, every edition of it, and I've liked them more or less for different reasons. I also play other games, but for me, some of the things that I think earlier editions have done well, especially is actually in Symbaroum in a sense. It's the leveling is not there, but
yeah,
but some other mechanics. So other parts were actually also easy to transfer, but covering all those 20 levels from the original game that usually has, you're either a novice, an adept, or a master at something. You don't have 20 levels of it. So we had to much more numerous but more incremental improvements that we had to do for all the classes. So that took some time, but I think that's what we struggled most with. But now we have 5 classes and 20 levels of them, and we're getting to a place where we're pretty comfortable that they all work. Some tweaks left, but
yeah.
Okay.
It also it has the original has a, like most 3D things, has a GM-less sort of dice mechanic to it as well. So the GM is there to tell the story. It doesn't get bogged down with those dice rolls. How have you sort of adapted Symbaroum? Because obviously D&D is very much everyone rolls dice. The dungeon master hides behind their screen rolling, pretending to roll dice.
We're gonna stick with the 5e standard there. So the DM will roll dice. Okay. When I play 5e, I don't roll any dice when I'm a DM. I just switch everything back, so you don't. There's a PC doesn't have a fixed armor class. You remove 10, so they have, instead of 17, they would have +7, and I would just give them your attack. The enemy attacks. It's a 16 attack. You have +7. Roll 16 or better. If you fail, so you can turn it player facing. Want to, but we felt it was a bit of a stretch, and we don't want to. When we don't have to change stuff in 5e, we don't, because it's people know it really well. So it's like if it ain't broke, why fix it? Mentality on it. So
I do, as a GM, I do enjoy the whole not having to worry about doing the math and things. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, exactly. I've my cognitive load. I prefer to, you can be tactical with the enemies, or you can focus on story, but maybe not so much on the dice rolls.
Yes.
If you can limit that a bit, that's nice. But you don't. But it works well. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to DMing it. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
So in D&D, it is very, very hard to kill your PC once they get past level 5.
Yes.
It's very irritating. Obviously, Symbaroum is a much more dangerous place. Have you added that into? Have you added that sort of thought into the game mechanics to make sure that it might be a bit more difficult for players to survive?
Yeah, one thing that the original Symbaroum does is it's not super concerned.
It's
not super concerned with your survival. The world doesn't care that much, and it goes back to the leveling system of 5e, that there's often in the adventures and the random tables and such, it's often a bit of hand-holding to make sure that if you have an encounter, you probably can take it. It's very unlikely that you roll something that you're basically not going to stand a chance, or it's going to be tough or less tough, but you're probably going to make it. And that's fine. That's the 5e convention. But the Symbaroum convention is, if you meet something, you have to stop and think, do we talk, sneak, or run, or fight? That's sort of your 4 options. And you should always be prepared for all of those, depending on what you're looking at. Because the number of fights in 5e ruins of Symbaroum 5e is going to be, they're not as numerous and they're more deadly. They're going to be harder on you challenge level wise.
Yeah.
But they're going to be less of them. But when they come, and this also go back to trying to present the setting in a, I would guess, I hesitate to say realistic, but our idea has always been that the enemy also calculate the odds. If they're smart, reasonably smart, they're going to make sure they can take you before they attack.
Yes.
At least stand a chance. If there's like, and certain creatures don't care, so they might still attack you if they're outnumbered or whatever. But in Symbaroum, unfortunately, some of those are very dangerous. so it doesn't really matter if they calculate the odds. We also added another mechanic that I think, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I like the idea that I'm not going to have a whole load of just murder hobos at my table who just run in and try and kill everything, because they will just die, and that will be glorious for me.
Exactly. No, but just the sense that fights are fewer and deadlier, I think, increases the drama for me as well. It's not just a mechanical thing. It feels more rewarding to and you can we don't have to fight these people. Do we really, or this creature? Do we really have to?
Yeah.
Do we have to do it even if? And one of the other is we kept the social sort of structure a bit, which means that if you fight elves, let's say, which might happen if you're not careful, other elves are not going to like you, so your life's going to be harder, even if you can take them in the initial fight, right? Just like I would say in life, if you start beating up people, their friends not going to like you, and your life's going to be harder. Even if you can win the fight, you just made more enemies than you killed.
Yeah.
So that sense of a world that exists and reacts in a way that might be more, but we're not. It's not necessarily a realism thing. It's more the way we want the world to work, and you feel that you're in a place that actually exists. I have no problem with like OSR going into dungeons and slaying monsters and taking their stuff. I love that, but it's not the Symbaroum way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the idea that like your actions have a consequence later on in the game, rather than I walked into this dungeon, I killed this person. The next lot of this person that I see didn't know I did it, so I could just kill them again. It's nice to have that you did this and explain to the character, to your players as well. You did this thing, and that has affected your world in this way now. Like you're gonna find it harder to go to these particular places or talk to and negotiate with these people.
Yeah. And I think we have situations where we're fighting. So I even had a group. They ganged up and defeated this dangerous monster, and then they kept going. And then I had to remind them that they were also being chased by other groups chasing for a specific place. And I just remind them that you just removed one of the bigger obstacles for those following you. You just spent the day fighting this thing, and they don't have to do that because you just killed it. Yeah. And they're like, we didn't really have to fight that thing. We could just walk around it. Why? I'm like, but they felt like they wanted to. I'm like, yeah, you could, obviously, since you won, right? But they're going to catch. So the other guys who were 4 days behind you are now 3 days behind you. Yeah. So there you go. So having a bit of that in the world, I think, makes it more interesting to play. So, and then it also lets people branch out and use their other sort of skills and whatever they have or even contact. Like, I know somebody over there that can help us.
Yeah.
And if I can just move on that we have added a 5e has two. There's a number of things that we've done, but there are short rests and long rests in 5e. Yeah. We've added a third, which is called an extended rest, which in Rules of Symbaroum is when you can spend hit dice to regain hit points or remove temporary corruption. You can only do that in a clearly safe place. Yeah. And those are very few. So you can't just stop in a dungeon room or next to whatever tree you like. You need to be like in the barbarian village or the cave guarded by a witch or a safe haven guarded by elves. You know, whatever, some such. Or at least maybe a tower that you yourself can defend. And those are hard to come by. So you might it's more likely that you'll zigzag through the forest than just go the shortest route, because you need to plan for when you start to run out of resources to the point that you need a safe place to stay. That affects high-level characters as well. So we want to get the feeling that you need to plan ahead. And again, if the witches and the barbarians and the elves and whoever hates you, you're also gonna run out of safe places. so it's gonna be like you need to like, why did we do that? Like, you might like, so we try, and it's not super strict, but we want the sense that the world is more complex and your action has down the line things that, and this is maybe a talk you probably have. If people come right in from 5e, it's gonna probably like, this is a bit more so consequences stack up in this game in a way that maybe the vanilla 5e game usually does not.
Jennifer said that's one of the best things, needing a safe place for resting. It lends a bit more to the realism, but it's an important part, I feel. I think that's exactly what I was thinking as you were saying it. It's like that's what makes like D&D PCs so like hard to kill, is that they do a little fight and then they say, I'm just going to take a short rest and roll some hit dice, and they get it back. And it's like, well, okay, but you wouldn't do that like in real life. You wouldn't just like sit down amongst all the bodies that you've just killed. Get better. You need somewhere to like hide.
And I mean, it's I think 5e, what a lot of good things. I play 5e quite a bit, so I love it, but it's very good at getting at what the 5e sees as the goods bits and sort of do away with all the other stuff that just the grind. But in their eyes, I would assume. But because if you play a more down to earth setting, it should feel like you have to plan for other stuff that can happen. You can run out of things, or including friends, right, or allies. So you can. So we'll try to carry that over in the sense that the world is more.
And when I say I love 5e as well. I'm not saying anything bad about 5e, because that's how I got introduced. So I didn't play any role-playing games until 5e came along, and that's how I got into miniature painting. And there's just it's nice to see that there's going to be like some new, although it's going to be a familiar mechanic to use, that there are some new things to add in that will change it up a bit. That's exciting.
And I think a lot of the things, when people, in defense of 5e, I think a lot of people, there are conventions around 5e. They're not necessarily hard-coded into the game, but they're conventions on how the game is played. You can easily remove them without changing the rules much. One of them, I'm one of those who, I remove a lot of fighting even when I play 5e, and I up the enemies. So all fights are hard, because easy fights are boring and have no value in my not always humble opinion on how to do stuff. I think the game becomes better if mortality is, you might die. That adds excitement. So but that's just, I don't do anything with the PCs. They're as powerful as they always are. I just stack the deck against them when it comes to enemies. So they always have to be smart and fight hard or avoid fighting if they can. And it's not necessarily built in the system. It's more a convention of how you usually roll out. Like, we need to do 14 encounters and then there's a level up. I'm like, you might do 3 fights in my game and then level up if you're still alive. It's more of a how do you handle the rules or the presentation of them.
So Jennifer also asks, when you're in the Kickstarter, are there options to purchase other Free League books as add-ons? I think there is.
Yes. There's a list of them. You can do Alien or Vasen or Forbidden Lands or Coriolis, or I don't remember all of them, but there's a
and they're all excellent. They are. I have them all.
I didn't have to say that, so thank you.
They are. I back everything that you guys put out. As soon as it comes up, I'm like, yep, done. I just know that it's going to be good. I know that the storytelling is going to be good. I'm always a backer. They're all very good. If you're listening, go to the Kickstarter and then buy all of the add-ons as books as well, please.
All the add-ons. That's good. Thank you. No, but there's plenty to choose from. So you can look them up and see what flavor game you want and start there.
Yeah.
But it's, of course, Kickstarters are always a good opportunity since the price is usually
yeah,
you get
nice little discount.
Discount, exactly.
Yeah. So if someone was coming to this Kickstarter completely new to Symbaroum,
Yeah.
what level would you recommend that they maybe back at to get the most out of the Kickstarter and also out of the game that they're going to put at the table?
Yeah. Well, the one where if you're a game master of this of Ruins of Symbaroum, you'd want to go with what's called Warden of Davokar, which is all it has the 3 core books in print, which is the player's guide, the game master's guide, and the bestiary, and all the unlocked PDFs, which is basically adventures now from level 1 to 9 or some such. A bunch of them. So that would be sort of a good package to start if you want to start running the game. If you're more of I want to play this and I'm not sure. There's the Wilds, which is the player's guide only, plus a lot of PDF stuff. So those 2 would, and then you can go. There's also, of course, PDF only options for either just the player's guide or all the 3 books. So if you're a bit short on cash late in the month, or not sure and you want to check it out, there are good options for that too. So not
I went with the Wardens one.
I mean, most people do. It's sort of the full package without some of the extras that some people might want with collector's editions. Yeah. But the Warden is this, I would say, the solid choice there. Yeah.
And if you've got loads of money, you're feeling flash, and you love pretty books, I love pretty books, get the collector's edition ones. Oh, because they are beautiful. I can't afford those, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. yeah, absolutely. That's no question. But if you're mostly for the functionality of it, the Warden is where to go.
Right. Okay. So the Kickstarter also mentions that some of the adventures and the mechanics and stuff are going to be on the Foundry virtual tabletop platform. For anyone who isn't sure what that is, I'm going to put a little link in the chat so you can go check it out. It's a virtual tabletop that allows you to tell stories and things.
Yes.
With your friends over video calls, just like this. Are there any plans to put it into like D&D Beyond at all? Have you spoken to any of the D&D Beyond team about having the characters and things available as purchases within there?
D&D Beyond is a very pretty walled off service. They have a few collaborations but only on pretty core 5e stuff. They don't have a third party. They don't have a good venue for third party to get on there, even if you're doing 5e things. So that seems to be a no-go. I would say
they should do that.
We're looking at. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I feel like that's a good thing that they're maybe missing out on. Like if they allowed some of people to add into their library.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
I mean, I'm not saying they won't. I know some of we've spoken to some people there, but not. But mostly just exploring what they do, and some of those guys I think left pretty recently. But anyway, it's a tightly controlled environment, which makes a lot of sense for them. But it's not a clear way for us to get on there, and I would right now I think it's a no-go. It might happen later if they change the way they do business, and it's all fine. I mean, there are plenty of other good virtual tabletops. We think Foundry for us it has a lot of the quality that we look for. There are others that might come later, but for the Kickstarter we focus on Foundry to make sure we can do one well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because like you have like the Roll20 as Fantasy Grounds as well, and I know that like Tales from the Loop you can get character sheets and things for Roll20. We use Roll20 in our Tales from the Loop game that we play.
I mean, there probably will be versions of it, but it is not as I'm not super techy, but it's not as easy as just adding content to it. It's the basic. You want to code the basic mechanics into it, so it will read everything correctly. Making an adaptable character sheet and adding will usually be done by fans because it's not super hard. But if you then you need someone to sit down and do the coding or the scripting to get it to work. Right? So we chose one to go with first.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Dave says, I really wanted the limited edition covers, but I used that money up on the One Ring.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah.
Oh.
We like making games. Sometimes it puts fans in a tough spot to choose. I'm on the Symbaroum team and not the One Ring team, but the One Ring wasn't a bad choice. It's always a super game.
So, have you had a chance to play any games during lockdown?
Yes, I'm running a Symbaroum campaign, the Throne of Thorns Chronicle. We're deep into that. We're basically play testing the latest material. We get sent from the other Mattias in 3D. He sends me the early drafts, and then I try to run them as much as I can. And we've continued doing that. We had a weekend with like my old. We're all old by now. That's why I say it. And, so we spent a few days playing 5e actually, and some board games. A weekend in. I mean the rules. It depends on where you are in the world, right? The lockdown. We've never really had a lockdown in Sweden. There are instructions, and their idea. Crossing the border is. It's not so easy, but it's not always. But otherwise, you can, as long as you stick to certain rules, you can move around a bit. So we actually met face to face and played
with real people. I've forgotten what that's like.
Yeah, exactly.
One day. I'm very much looking forward to gaming with people. Yeah.
We actually played some Coriolis using.
Nice.
I don't know if it was one of the virtual tabletops. I forget which one. I was just focused on not being blown out of space. But it was quite good. So we played that a bit too. So that's
yeah, I've been using the board game arena. Yeah, like virtual tabletops for like board games. I've been enjoying that. Like. Set it up with work, and then we can just on our lunchtime play a board game together, because normally on a Friday in the office we play a board game all together. It's like, I missed that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have the online something.
Okay, what are your long-term plans for Symbaroum then?
I mean,
that you're allowed to say.
For sure. I'm not divided. It's not that I'm sifting through secrets. More like I'm trying to get a grip on what we're actually doing. Now we're having I mentioned the Throne of Thorns campaign, which is going to be a 6-part saga, where we just had a pre-order up for the 5th of those. So finishing that one and then concluding the campaign with the 6th installment is what's up for I would call that the original Symbaroum game. 5e, the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e we would work to put that on par with the original one. My ambition is to have them running in parallel, so that whenever we do something, we do it for both systems at the same time. It's the same content. They're not different games. They are packaged slightly different. So Ruins of Symbaroum 5e is of course much faster to produce, since it's a conversion of stats and some rewriting of some scenes so they make sense rules wise. So that's the horizon we have now, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen next. That's a year or a year and a half out.
Okay. Jennifer says, do you have any other games in development that you can tell us about? Probably not. They're probably very secret.
We're doing. Since I'm also one of the guys who wrote the original Coriolis back in the day. If anybody's seen that, I'm involved in wrapping up the Mercy of the Icons campaign, which has the third installment coming up. So I'm into that. I'm also doing some Forbidden Lands stuff. And what else am I sinking my teeth into? And that's mostly what I do, to be honest. I'm also in some of the other bit more in a, like a first reader or giving feedback as such. I'm not really necessarily driving development or anything.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so from social media, I've had a couple of questions. Anyone in chat, if you've got any more questions, do pop them in now. So I had from my Facebook, someone asked, what is your favorite RPG to play and why?
Yeah, probably one of those annoying people who really like to play my own games that I create. I play Symbaroum a lot, Coriolis a bit. Then I can play sort of whatever. I play every game that Free League publishes, of course, either during development or post-launch. I'm into Vaesen right now, sort of a mystical game. I haven't been able to play it yet. I've only read it, so it annoys me. I need to play that, or either.
I played one session with it.
Yeah, I need to be part of that somehow. That's my goal on my to-do list. And then I play whatever Dungeons and Dragons version is out at the moment, starting from basic through advanced and third and 3.5 and 4 now. 5th edition. It's sort of a staple in my food. It's more like it's like fiber or something. I don't know. It's not always my first choice, but it's always there. Because a lot of my friends play, so it's easy.
Yeah. Okay, so if you were given all of the time and all of the money that you ever needed, describe the kind of RPG that you would love to create.
Well, since I'm not sure it's a time or money issue. It's more of I need to get my fellow Free League teammates on board. But that might take some time and money. If I could bribe them, maybe it would go faster. So, sure, fair enough. No, I want to make a modern fantasy game. I want to make a game that plays. Yeah, going back to like Neil Gaiman's Sandman or Hellblazer or some of the sort of modern setting, but some sort of fantasy spin on it. I have a couple of drafts laying around, not super happy with them, and I've yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that right. That would be really cool. But
I like it. I
won't hold my breath. I've tried for a while, and I'm not going getting it. But again, with enough money and time, maybe I would.
Yeah, come on, Free League, let's do it.
Yeah, we have a lot of good ideas. We can't every day. We have a great idea, so we can't. The good ones we're gonna have to wait until they become great.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, Jennifer is just saying that she's been watching the Vaesen, but she hasn't been able to play it yet. I've only played one session with some friends, sort of offline, online, but not live. And I really enjoyed it. Like it was a little bit weird and spooky, and sort of like a Victorian sort of street urchin-y type.
Exactly. That's the vibe you're going for. It's sort of a mysterious adventure with some sort of monster that might turn out that you're the monster. Really depends on what happens, right? So there's a lot of stuff I want to try that out.
Yeah. Well, have you got anything else to plug? Anything you want to talk about? Non-Symbaroum related, or just tell people go to the Kickstarter, do it.
I mean, of course, I'd love for people to check out the Kickstarter and see if there's something there that they like. If not, there's you can you can go to our store and check out the games that we have and see if some things, if you haven't checked this out, maybe it's worth spending some time on. Even because there's a lot of RPGs out there, and if you haven't had a chance to look at our stuff, I would, of course, urge you to. But I don't have anything else to. I think you've asked all the pertinent questions, and then a few ones that I did not expect, but really enjoyed.
Yay!
Yeah.
Well, so we've got a little bit of time. So I'd like you to pick a number between 1 and 4, and I'm going to ask you this random like quiz cards that I have. It's a little thinker.
Can I use a D4, or do I need my own judgment?
You can use a D4. Please use a D4. How exciting!
See if I have one. Oh, I don't have one here. I'll have to go by my own judgment. That's always scary. Yeah.
What number?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
What number did you choose? Sorry.
I'm going to say a number between 1 and 4.
Yeah.
3, of course.
3. Okay.
Best number.
So this question is called the brain pill. Okay.
Right.
You are offered a brain pill. If you swallow this pill, you will become 10% more intelligent than you currently are. You will be more adept at reading comprehension, logic, and critical thinking. However, to all other people you know and to all future people you will meet, you will seem 20% less intelligent. In other words, you will immediately become smarter, but the rest of the world will perceive you as being dumber. And there's no way that you can ever alter this perception. Do you take the pill?
That was a hard one, actually. It's sort of do you value status over performance?
Yeah.
I'm a vain creature. It would be tough for me to take that. I would need it, though. Those 10% would be really good. That was hard. No, I would have to sit that one out. I would take it. I think I would. I'm doing okay now, and I think that my I prefer my persona as it is. I don't
Yes.
That's my honest answer. Oh, that's a boring answer. I realize that. I should
probably
go for, being misunderstood. I prefer to be just misunderstood rather than a misunderstood genius, I think.
And one more then. So pick a number now between 1 and 3.
1, of course.
1. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh crap! I dropped them all. Okay, bear me a second. Here we go. This one is called Grizzly Weather. Think of someone who is your friend, not your best friend, but someone who you would classify as an acquaintance or more. This friend is about to be attacked by a grizzly bear.
Right.
Now, this person will survive this bear attack. That is guaranteed. There is 100% chance that your friend will live. However, the extent of his injuries is unknown. He might receive nothing but a few scratches, or he could lose a limb.
Yeah.
He might recover completely in 24 hours, or he may have to spend the rest of his life in a hospital. However, you have the ability to stop this from happening. You can magically save your friend from the bear, but his salvation will come at a particular price. If you choose to stop the bear, it will always rain. For the rest of your life, wherever you go, it will be raining. Sometimes it will pour and sometimes it will drizzle, but it will never not be raining. It won't rain over the totality of the earth. It will just be isolated to your specific whereabouts. You will never see the sun again. Do you stop the bear and attempt and accept a lifetime of rain?
These are awful questions.
I know.
Well, you can draw a line into the future and say you're sitting in the sun somewhere and realizing that you're doing this because someone else is in physiotherapy and will never get fully healed, right?
Yep.
I would have to intervene. I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's raining a lot in Sweden anyway, so I might just take away and rain for the rest of the days. My family have to go on vacation without me then, so I can take the rain with me.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
No one's
in
going to let
Bergen.
you around if you just keep bringing the rain.
Did you see Jennifer's comment about Bergen in Norway?
Yeah, not much different.
I've been in Bergen, Jennifer. I know exactly what it's like. I love Bergen and the rain.
Oh, well,
place.
that's our question.
Beautiful place. I might as well live then in Bergen then. There, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
just
nice.
move there. It'll be
we
fine.
can move there since.
Oh, well, that's it for the end of our show. So I'm just going to do a quick thank you to my patrons who make this show possible. Thank you very much to Timo, Tim, Brandon, Charlotte, Chris, Fenris Games, Cerberus Studios, Ben, David, Frankie, Gav, Hanno, Louis, Dreaming in Red, Bob, Paul, Richard, Silverglass, One Sick Bunny, Anton, and Liam. You are all awesome and amazing, and I say this every single time, but you are the best. And if anyone wants to join that Hall of Fame there and get a little shout out, you can join in the link in chat, which is patreon.com/geekgirlbookworm from as little as £2 a month. Very nice. Well, thank you very much for coming along today and being my guest on my first Friday bonus episode.
Nice.
Yes.
I feel honored to have been part of that. Hopefully,
Yay.
successful and long-standing tradition that starts now.
Yes, I would like that. Yes, it would be very nice if I can squeeze more people in. Because at the moment we're sort of booked up until October now, which is amazing. So little bonus episodes once in a while would be very nice. But it was really lovely to talk to you as well, and
Likewise.
Learn a little bit more about the Kickstarter, which I shall put a link in the chat again now. There we go. That's going through. Yes. So thank you very much for coming along, and thank you everyone in chat for coming along, chatting, asking us questions. I look forward to seeing you all again. Actually, next week, on next Wednesday, we will be talking to Frankie from Frankie's Tabletop Tinkering about her miniatures history, painting miniatures, creating cool content for D&D and things and RPGs. So she's going to be along next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Thank you everyone for coming along, and we shall see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.